Good morning, Tampa Bay. What is going on? Welcome, Monday edition, October the 10th. Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. You know me, I'm Danny. We've got some things to talk about today. So got a few things that I need to, I don't want to necessarily say get off of my chest, but it was yesterday. Tristan Wirfs said it the best. A win is a win, right? And he's not wrong. But, man, it was the Falcons. A lot of people do sleep on the Falcons, right? And then this is something that I kind of warned people about because the Falcons, if the Falcons get another chance to run the ball near the end of that game, or, I know the Scotty Miller pretty egregious pass interference call was not called. I know, the Grady Jarrett probably not roughing the quarterback call was called, and there's definitely other things in the game that could have played factor and could have played tribute to the Buccaneers win yesterday. But look, at the end of the day, they got it done. So we're going to talk about the Bucs. We're going to talk about the entire slate. We'll talk. You know what? We'll start right now. We'll start with baseball. We'll start with the Rays. Unfortunately, the Rays couldn't get it done in Cleveland. It sucks, right? It sucks to see a team that was, and you guys know me. I'm not about moral victories. You know that I'm not one of those guys that's, I'm not a rah-rah guy that is, just looking for moral victories, right? This team was in the World Series 2 years ago. This team won 100 games last season. To me, this should always be Super Bowl or bust. Super Bowl. World Series or bust. It should always be World Series or bust while we've got the same roster, right? Well, there's no reason it shouldn't be. You still have the same manager, Kevin Cash, two-time manager of the year. You've largely got the same roster. You don't have Nelson Cruz, sure, but Nelson Cruz as an old man was not nearly as effective as Nelson Cruz as a young man was. But nonetheless, you're coming off of a 100-win season. Your entire team is plagued, absolutely plagued with injuries. You're falling apart. You're calling guys up from Durham that were clearly not prepared to play at this level. And the Rays fall all the way back to fourth place in the AL East. Arguably the toughest division in baseball. Not really sure what was going on with the Red Sox this year. The Orioles surprised a lot and kind of bounced back from being in the cellar of the AL East for a while. But to see how this team was able to kind of be all over the place. And then, less than a month ago, only be 4 games behind the Yankees for first place in the AL East. That's pretty damn remarkable, if you ask me. I think that's very impressive. I chalk the season up as a loss because, like I said, it should be World Series or bust. Every season, if you've got a good team. If you go into the season and you're listed as a top contender, like the Tampa Bay Rays were, it's got to be World Series or bust. Anything else is a loss of a season. They didn't, obviously, they lost both games to Cleveland in the wild card series. Both very fun games, especially that second game. I have some Guardians fans that were in attendance and said it was by far the most fun game that they have ever been to. That being the second game, of course, that went into extra innings, but it was the season's over. So where do the Rays go from here? We're still worried. We still haven't even made any progress on the stadium that was supposed to be announced in August, right? This is the thing that happens with the Rays all too often. It happens all too often when the Rays just nothing changes, right? I used to have, he was a pain in the ass, but I used to have a boss that would say, you either change people or you change people. And, it's hard to say, sure, because the Rays did win 100 games last year. They were in the World Series 2 years ago. But you should be improving. I know that there's injuries. Does that mean that you are fully set and you are fully ready to rock and roll with this current team? That to me is very hard to say. And I don't think that that's accurate. I do not think that you're looking at a Rays team. I don't think that we're looking at a Rays team that makes any changes in the offseason, really. Things that the stuff that they've done so far has worked well for them. What they've done so far has played out well. But now it's still time to take it to that next level. You've got to move on. You've got to progress. You've got to take it to that next level. And if you don't take it to that next level, you're just going to have problems. Right? Like this is what you have to progress forward. I'm proud of what the team was able to do. I'm proud that the team was able to kind of overcome adversity and overachieve and get into the American League playoffs. But that's realistically, that's where it ends, and that's where the Rays season ended. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I guess we'll get this guy out of the way here as well. Ian Cole's sexual assault allegations have come to fruition. And, it's never acceptable, right? It's never acceptable. But what I like about the situation is how rapidly both the NHL and the Tampa Bay Lightning handled this. I like how rapidly they handle it, because we see the NFL screw this up multiple times every year. To my knowledge, this is the first, and I'm sure it's not, but to my knowledge, this is the first time where we have actually seen sexual assault allegations towards an NHL player. We've had Evander Kane with the gambling, we've had other things, but to my knowledge, this is the first time we've ever seen this. And the way that they handled it so quickly, to me, is impressive. Like, you got it right on the first time. You got it right on the very first try. Like, kudos to you guys. We know how good of an owner Jeffrey Vinik is. We know how good the Vinik Sports Group is. That's why Rays fans are preaching, hey, please buy the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, that's why they want the Rays. Like, that's what, but we have to be, but props, really, obviously everything is pending investigation. I'm seeing a lot of people on social media say, well, it better be without pay. It better be pending investigation without pay. But why? Why should it be pending without pay? It's pending an investigation. So you're removing him from the team. But what happens if everything comes back? Like, what happens if it's a Chris Hardwick situation where it comes back and it was all fabricated? What happens if it was, I don't even know his real name, but like an Enzo Amore from WWE situation, right? Where, like, we don't know all of the story for Ian Cole, and it's not for us to decide. I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not going to act like I'm in law enforcement. I'm not going to go on social media posts and act like I'm an attorney. I'm an expert in law, because I'm not. I'm an expert in sports, right? Like, it's, to me, it's just, it's a weird dynamic when you look and go, well, Ian Cole's got sexual assault allegations. He needs to be suspended without pay. And you're like, well, what happens? You have to be subjective. We still live in an innocent until proven guilty society. Anytime sexual assault allegations are brought up, you have to take them seriously. You can't take them lightly. They did what was the best. This was the best scenario for what the Lightning and the NHL could do. Remove him from the situation. You're not allowed to participate in any team activities. while we investigate this, or while law enforcement and our attorneys investigate it and figure out what is what. Like, that's the best case scenario for the NHL. Is it was swift, it was prompt, and it was exactly what you needed to do. You didn't need to have anything, like you really didn't need to go beyond that. Like, you don't need to suspend him without pay in the event that it comes back and it's, the accuser is uncooperative. Like, we've seen that before too. The accuser is uncooperative. Well, he did this, but I don't really cooperate. Like, it's such a subjective thing, and it's one person. Deshaun Watson's completely different. You cannot even remotely compare. You can't remotely compare Deshaun Watson to anybody. When you're over 20 plus allegations, something is up, right? When you're up that high, but you can't compare the two. Jay in the chat, is Chris Hardwick the guy from Double? No, he's not the guy from Double Dare. He hosted all of the like the after shows after Breaking Bad and Walking Dead and stuff on AMC after those shows. I think it was Talking Dead and Talking Bad, I think is what they were called. He's back. I mean, he's hosting, I think it's called The Wall on NBC. It's like a game show. It's on primetime. But it's like, this guy lost all of his jobs because his ex-wife said that he did all of these nasty, terrible, horrible things to me. And then it turns out that he didn't, but the damage was still done. He already lost his job. And, that's why you have to tread lightly. You've got to play the middle ground, and the NHL and the Tampa Bay Lightning did everything possible, everything right in this situation. They did everything that they possibly could do, and they did it right. So, props once again to Jeff Vinik, to the Tampa Bay Lightning as an organization, and to the NHL as a league. Maybe Gary Bettman can get on the phone with Roger Goodell and say, hey, how come every time these allegations come up, you guys wait like 4 months to do anything? I think these came up and we were like, boom, done. Let's go. Investigate away. We've already handled our business. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe the NFL can get it right just once. Who knows? I also plunge forward here. The Tampa Bay Lightning's preseason is over. Tomorrow. One more time. Tomorrow. The Tampa Bay Lightning play at Madison Square Garden against the New York Rangers as they kick off their redemption tour. And I got to tell you, I can't be any more excited for the Tampa Bay Lightning as they head into the season, knowing that this is they were everything that Adam Kimmelman said about this team being more motivated this year than they were last year. I 100% fully back and fully understand exactly what he's saying. I understand, there's a difference when you are playing to win. They won back-to-back Stanley Cups. You're almost numb to it at that point. And we've heard Michael Jordan, we've heard Kobe Bryant, we've heard other players that have won back-to-back. When they're going for that third one, you're almost just playing not to lose at that point because you're playing for that three-peat, right? They were this close to making history and becoming the first team since the New York Islanders in the early 80s. Nearly 40 years. They would have been the first team in 40 years to win 3 straight Stanley Cups. That's history. And it was taken from them. You can argue you can argue semantics and say, well, it was the too many men on the ice. It was the extra guy. Kadri was the extra guy. He had a 25-foot advantage. We can say all of these things, but Very similarly to what Atlanta Falcons fans are feeling after yesterday's game. What is one of the very first things that we are always taught when we're growing up and we're playing competitive sports? And it doesn't matter if you're in Pee Wee football or if you're in college basketball. I heard it my entire career at every level that I played at. Do not let the game get close enough for referees and human error to affect the outcome. Happened to the Lightning last season in the Stanley Cup final. It sucks. It's unfortunate. We don't like it, but it happened. Right? We knew the formula to beating the Avalanche. When we were putting bodies on the Avalanche and we were playing their game, the Lightning were beating the Avalanche at playing the Avalanche's game, but they stopped doing that. The Atlanta Falcons had all the time in the world to beat the Buccaneers yesterday, but they didn't do it. And now we're going to talk about a Tom Brady roughing the quarterback penalty. It shouldn't have been called, but Todd Bowles told us during the press conference after the game yesterday, it's likely going to get called on every quarterback now based off what we know of the Tua Tagovailoa situation. This is what we understand is the NFL now. The NFL is about protection, which, by the way, as we jump in to talking about the Buccaneers game yesterday, by the way, I thought these new helmets were supposed to help prevent concussions. Have we not had more concussions this season than any other season? Like, it seems to me like every week we're losing 1 to 3 guys to concussion. Every week this season. We're 5 weeks in, and I can name at least 10 players that we've lost to concussions. I know guys aren't hitting harder. I don't think the guys are hitting harder, but I don't know, man. It's a super weird dynamic. You know, we're taking all of these extra measures. We're taking all of these extra steps to protect our players. And they're doing as annoying as it seems with how ticky-tack it is for penalties on quarterbacks and pass interference penalties and such. You know, hands to the face is more of an emphasis as well. You know, as annoying as those are, it's the advancement of the game, you know, especially protecting the quarterbacks, right? Because you could just run in there and blast a quarterback in the knees all day long, right? Knowing what we know about how fragile knees are, I think that it's a good dynamic and it's a good improvement forward to protect the quarterbacks. As annoying as it seems, I think that it's good that we're protecting the quarterbacks better than we have been. But yeah, we can't let the referees affect the outcome of the game. Right before, there was a terrible no pass interference call on Scotty Miller. I mean, Scotty Miller essentially got boxed out way too late. Now, I know that defenders have the same capabilities of playing the ball as a wide receiver, but you're not playing the ball. You're playing the wide receiver. He puts his hands up. You're already into his body, which is pass interference already. Scotty Miller put together a decent game yesterday. And it's it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that Scotty Miller was not able to catch that. Would he have been out of bounds? He likely would have been out of bounds, but that's not what a pass interference call is about anyway. Pass interference is about you not allowing a wide receiver the opportunity to try and catch a pass. And that's what that's about. And that's what it should have been called. Jay in the chat says Scotty probably would have dropped. Look, the way that Scotty's playing this year, yeah, he probably would have dropped it. He still leads the team in drops. But it's like I said, it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, all right, so it is what it is, man. Like, referees are going to blow calls. Look, growing up as a Detroit Lions fan, referees blow calls all the time. I mean, like, it's not going to change. We can't replay every single play, right? That's why they implemented the challenges. You can challenge now. Will they? I hope that they don't start allowing challenges on certain penalties. I think that would definitely kill the game because you don't want to just keep stopping the momentum. Like, how annoying was it yesterday when Jerome Boger was having he stopped the game 2 or 3 different times to reset the play clock, reset the game clock, reset, and you're like, dude, Jerome, this isn't your first rodeo, brother. You've been doing this for a long time. You're a damn good referee. Like, what is going on? How are we all not here working together? Like, how is this? How are people finding that? Like, to me, it's kind of crazy. Was it a controversial call on Grady Jarrett? The answer is yes. There's no way that you can't tell me that the answer is no. It was 100% a controversial call. And just like I touched on earlier, Todd Bowles told us during the press conference that he believes that it's going to be going forward as a called penalty against defenders because this is the same way that Tua got his second concussion, was getting that whip back, almost like a German suplex if you're a wrestling fan. It just so happened that the first time we've seen this happens to be on Tom Brady. And everybody always has their opinions on Tom Brady. And that's why people are so upset because, it's a divisional game. It was against Tom Brady. If this happens and it's, and the penalty is, let's say Davis Mills is the quarterback, nobody's pissing and moaning about that. People are looking at it going, damn, that was a violent hit. But because it's Tom Brady, that's problematic. We're protecting Brady. You can't do that to Brady. He's untouchable. You know what, though? At the end of the day, you can't tell me that we're not protecting our superstars better than we're protecting our regular players. You can't tell me that Mike Evans is not going to get better protected by the referees than somebody like a Brashad Perriman or a Scotty Miller. You can't tell me that because the NFL is still a business. They're going to make sure that their superstars aren't getting unfair treatment. They're going to make sure they have the Jordan rules for their superstars. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Tom Brady's got the tuck rule. I mean, there's so many different things with Tom Brady that you look at and go, okay, like, it shouldn't be surprising. It's just unfortunate. Like, I'm A-okay with getting that slinging, the whipping sack. I'm A-okay with them doing away with that. Bring back like the body weight sack. Allow them to do that. A lot of this is, to me, you're going to get all of the Tom Brady sack yesterday, the Tua sack last Thursday. Like, you're going to get more of these because you're not allowing defenders to fall on the quarterback. Dude, we wear shoulder pads. They've got pads in their pants. A lot of them are wearing rib cage protectors. Like, there's like, this to me is a result of not of forcing the defenders to tackle the quarterback from the side. That to me is that's where it starts. That's where it's a problem, though. Right, but Jay, you're not really going to ever sling down a wide receiver. That's the thing, is you're not going to see that. Like, the slinging, like I said, is to me is a direct result because we've seen it a lot ever since they said, "Hey, you can't fall on the quarterback," which is ridiculous. I think that it's crazy if I'm a defensive lineman and I'm barreling down, I'm going north and south, right? If I'm going straight down the offensive line and I'm ripping through them, you're telling me I can't just grab the quarterback and just jump on him? So you're telling me I have to grab the quarterback off to the side and then tackle him? Well, what's the natural human reaction? What is the natural human reaction when you're grabbing somebody from the side? Grab them and sling them. Like that's the natural human reaction. That's the easiest way to get somebody down. Because if I can't just grab them and jump on them, you're kind of limiting the ways that I'm able to bring a guy down. We should just stop getting rid of sacks then. Like just get rid of sacks altogether, Like that sucks. And that goes for everybody. That doesn't just go for the Buccaneers, right? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, a win is a win. Tristan Wirfs said this yesterday. A win is a win, but he wants better production and quicker starts from his offensive line. There were 4 hits on Tom Brady yesterday. The Falcons had 8 sacks going into the season, going into this game. 0 sacks yesterday, so the line held up well in that respect. But Grady Jarrett got 2 hits on Tom Brady. Luke Gedeke was solely responsible for those. Fans outside, we could hear them. In the press box, we could hear them through the glass. Fans are booing Luke Gedeke when they announced him, in the starting lineup. You can't tell me as a rookie that you're not cognizant of like, hey, I need to be playing better. And he knows that. He's not a dummy. Luke Gedeke's not a stupid guy. He knows that he needs to get his feet under him. He was thrust into this starting position when Aaron Stinney went down. I don't think he was ready. The Bucs only have $3 million in cap space right now. You're probably not going to get anybody, if that. You're probably not going to be getting many of those guys. You're like, who can you call? You're not going to get J.C. Treader out of retirement for $3 million. I'm sorry, you're not going to. He just came off of a $9 million deal with the Cleveland Browns. Do you think he wants to unretire for $3 million to play for a team that's got a lot of question marks that should have been completely unstoppable on paper? He's not. That's not realistic, folks. Rob Gronkowski coming back makes no difference. What is Rob Gronkowski going to do to help Luke Gedeke? What is Rob Gronkowski going to do to help Donovan Smith recover from that hyperextended elbow? Like nothing. I don't know. Cade Otton played very well yesterday. He had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 43 yards, averaging 7.2 yards per catch. Cade Otton it was coming on very well yesterday. I think I tweeted that out. I did a lot of live tweeting yesterday, way more than I. It's very easy to live tweet when you're in the box, by the way. But it's, Cade Otton plays. I was really shocked that we didn't see one of those fades to Cade Otton in the red zone for a touchdown. Like, we saw that time and time and time again during training camp. It could have just been situational, which is why we didn't see that. But Cade Otton did everything that he possibly could right. And I'm super, super excited. Especially with the way that he played yesterday. Just he sees his opportunity. Leonard Fournette, First Buccaneers running back since 2007 to lead the team in both rushing and receiving yards. Of course, he had 10 receptions for 83 yards, and he rushed the ball for 56 yards. And we're not congratulating the 56 yards. We're just not. I'm not going to congratulate 56 yards against a team that's not that good at stopping the run in the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons were 21st in pass rush, and they were 19th in stopping the run. And they held Leonard Fournette to 56 yards. Now, he had an average of 4.0, which was great. It was the first time since week 1 against Dallas Cowboys. That's great. That's a trend in the right direction. And this is what we were looking for against the Falcons yesterday, right? Is we were looking for small wins. We were looking for the Atlanta Falcons game to be a tune-up game. Yes, we know the Falcons are better than expected. And I think the Bucs realized that yesterday. They won by 6 points. I think the Buccaneers realized, okay, the Falcons are a little bit better than expected. But we still need to use this to help Luke Gedeke. We still need to use this to help Shaq Mason kind of fit in. Shaq Mason's been playing very well individually, right? But as an entire unit and as an offensive line unit, it's not necessarily something that is a positive 5 weeks into the season. They've got the Steelers next week. The Steelers have all kinds of questions of their own, largely on offense, though. Largely on offense is where the Steelers' question marks are. But there's still a lot of question marks that the Buccaneers have after yesterday. Rachaad White had 5 carries. Chris Godwin had a carry. Tom Brady, he registered 3 carries, but those were the downs at the end of the game. The check down game was open. Something else that we need to look at. Chris Godwin was 6 for 6 for 61 yards. He caught every one of his targets. Mike Evans and Tom Brady struggled a little bit to get on the same page. 4 receptions on 8 targets. To me, the realistic shock was Tom Brady struggling with Russell Gage. That to me was the part where I was looking, going, okay, like, this is kind of problematic. 2 receptions on 6 targets for 20 yards. Like, Russell Gage was the guy against Green Bay, and, yeah. Russell Gage was the guy against Green Bay, double-digit catches, and now he just can't seem to get on the same page. And I think he's really laboring that injury. As he's trying to, like, come back and he's trying to rehab that injury. I think that's kind of, putting him off of his game. Maybe it's a mental thing, a little mental block for Russell Gage. Tom Brady's up to 3rd in the league in passing now with 1,409 yards. As poorly as we believe that the offensive line is playing, Tom Brady's still 3rd in the NFL in passing yards. To me, it was a combination of Tom Brady's got so much other stuff going on outside of football right now, and we're not going to talk about it because I like. Does it suck that his marriage has some sort of issue? Like, yeah, it does, but that's not my concern because I don't know Tom Brady on that personal level to say anything about it. Like, I just sound, like you just sound like a gossiper at that point. So I'm not going to talk about it because to me it has no merit on me. It has no merit on my opinions of this team. It has no merit on anything. But for as poorly as the offensive line is playing, for Tom Brady to be 3rd in the NFL in passing yards, that's pretty impressive. He's trailing Justin Herbert by 69 yards, and he's trailing Josh Allen by 242. I had somebody ask me yesterday, what's the likelihood of Tom Brady leading the league in passing yards by the end of the season? He was number 9 heading into yesterday. He was 9th yesterday, and now he's 3rd. But I think it's indicative of the matchups. Pittsburgh's struggling on both sides of the ball. Carolina might not even like play the rest of the season. Their defense is actually playing pretty well. It's their offense that's continuing to struggle. Baker Mayfield, I think, has the second lowest passer rating out of a quarterback ever since they started tracking passer ratings in 2006, behind none other than the biggest bust in NFL draft history, Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, that's not good. I don't know if Tom Brady can overtake Josh Allen. Josh Allen looks like he's playing on another level. Josh Allen is dissecting. He's dissecting good defenses. He's not just picking apart terrible defenses. He's picking apart all defenses this year. And he's looking unstoppable. I think Tom Brady can very easily finish second in the league, but Josh Allen has to slow down because you can't expect Tom Brady to have 50 dropbacks every day. Tom Brady is now 17, and here's a cool stat. Tom Brady is now 17-9 in games with 50 plus passing attempts. Every other quarterback in NFL history is a combined 121 wins, 491 losses, and 10 ties. And only Warren Moon and Dan Marino have won 5 games, leading the way behind Tom Brady. So Tom Brady's won 17. Warren Moon and Dan Marino have won 5. And then there's been a collective total of 491 losses. Yeah, I'd say Tom's doing pretty damn good. I just, looking at how Josh Allen is playing, like Josh Allen shouldn't be playing this well with an injured Dawson Knox, and Gabriel Davis is turning into an absolute powerhouse at wide receiver. You can say what you want, say that he's a product of Stephon Diggs. That's fine, but he's seizing every moment, and he is just eating up yards. Every game, Gabe Davis is on fire, and he's eating up yards. Josh Allen is able to find Gabe Davis, and then you have the luxury of having one of the better wide receivers in Stephon Diggs. I think if Julio can come back, and who knows, Julio could, maybe he comes back. There was no injury update internally from the team to us yesterday. But it's such a, when you've got Mike Evans, who is probably the most underappreciated wide receiver in terms of national media attention in the entire NFL, who should be a top 6 wide receiver in the league. When you've got a guy like Chris Godwin, but also he's, Russell Gage again. Russell Gage and Tom Brady have struggled to get on the same page. Sure, Mike Evans caught 50% of his targets yesterday, but that's not always going to be the case. Right? That's not always going to be the case. Chris Godwin is looking stronger. He's looking healthier. Didn't get taken out for anything yesterday. There were no tweaks. There were no announcements. There were no hey, he tweaked this. He's questionable to come back. There was none of that. Everything was kosher for Chris Godwin. Russell Gage, it's another story. Again, this is a situation where you look at the Buccaneers on paper and go, Jesus, how is this team not 5-0? If the Eagles could be 5-0 and we haven't played the Eagles yet, then we should be 5-0 too. But unfortunately, they're just not. Whether, and it starts up front. We know that, right? We know that Tom Brady, regardless of the situation, Tom Brady is playing very well and he's getting it done. But I'm sure he would like a cleaner pocket. And Tristan Wirfs would like his offensive unit to give Tom Brady a cleaner pocket. Tom Brady is an old man who doesn't like to get hit, is what Tristan Wirfs told us yesterday. Follow Channelside on Twitter. I posted the video from his when he was talking to us in the locker room yesterday. Tom Brady doesn't like to get hit. No quarterback likes to get hit. I don't think anybody really likes to get hit. Maybe running backs, but outside of that, nobody really likes to get hit. The defense gave up another 151 yards in rushing. A lot of fans are asking, like, what happened to the defense? Where's the defense? You know, in terms of passing, Marcus Mariota only passed for 147 yards. Antoine Winfield was all over that field. He was just he was destroying almost every single opportunity for the Atlanta Falcons, whether it was in the run, whether it was in the passing game. Joe Shinoika was Shoinka, sorry. It's early. I mean, he sealed off the edge a lot on runs, forcing whether it was Algier or forcing somebody. You know, it was a collective group effort by the Buccaneers defense. And, you know, the offense stalled a lot. You know, if I pull up the third down efficiency for the Buccaneers, they were 9 of 16 on third down. That's 56%, which is decent. You know, but they held the Falcons to 6 of 14. Right? 6 of 14 for that's less than 43%. The Buccaneers defense showed up to play yesterday. The offense stalled out a few times. You know, but it is what it is. A win is a win at the end of the day. The Bucs are now sitting 3-2. They're, you know, comfortably in first place. They've got they have a tiebreaker now over the Atlanta Falcons. You know, there's a lot of positives to take home from the Bucs yesterday, and it's the small wins. You know, this is what we talked about yesterday. It's just it's the small wins that you're looking for, and it's those little things that you want to see from your team. This is where you want to go as you're heading forward, and you're propelling towards taking on a Pittsburgh Steelers team that is also struggling, much like the Atlanta Falcons are. You know, whether you want to say that it's, you know, Matt Canada is a crappy offensive coordinator, that's fine. You could say all of those things. But we'll see. You know, Pittsburgh's always a tough place to play. Right? Pittsburgh's always a tough place to play. And that's the thing for when it comes down to it for the Bucs. Let's wrap it up here. We got 10 minutes left. We're going to try to blitz through this. I would love to try and do a Chris Berman, the little whoop, but I don't think I could do it well enough to solidify myself all the way through the Sunday slate. 9:30 a.m. kickoff in London. The Giants get the upset over the Green Bay Packers, 27-22. And, you know, one of my close friends is a huge Giants fan. Obviously, I know, Nikki, who was not on the show yesterday, on Channelside Bets yesterday, because her team that she does cover the Giants as well, they were playing. My good buddy texted me and was like, hey, the game's over. And I was like, man, we've seen Aaron Rodgers all too many times with these stupid last-second Hail Marys that convert into touchdowns. And you're like, oh, my God, did he do it again? I was like, you know, don't jinx it. Don't say that it's over. You know, Aaron Rodgers tried to make something happen, then he got absolutely blasted as he was trying to make something happen. And it looked like he might have gotten injured the way that he fell. But he did bounce right back up. Maybe it was just like a frustration lay there. But, I mean, the Giants are now 4-1. Brian Daboll was the coach for he is the coach for the Giants. He is the guy for the New York Giants. With the Packers taking the loss, that kind of opened up the gates, you know, for the Vikings, who beat the Bears 29-22. The Vikings are now sitting 4-1. Kirk Cousins, not the greatest day, 32 of 41 for 296, but Justin Jefferson had 12 receptions. Dalvin Cook had 94 yards and 2 tutties on 18 carries. The Vikings are now firmly in first place in the NFC North. Obviously, the Bears are now 2-3. And then the Lions get completely destroyed by the New England Patriots, 29-0. And look, this was a game where Dan Campbell was atrocious with his decision making. Jared Goff didn't play well. He had a couple fumbles. He had an interception. And this right here was classic Detroit Lions lose, right? Because a team that you're supposed to go in and you're supposed to beat, you just get blown out by. That's classic Detroit Lions football right there. Fans right now in Detroit are saying, is Dan Campbell the guy? Like, is Dan Campbell the right coach for the Detroit Lions? I mean, his decision-making's got to get better. You're in your second year, and you're on your fifth week, and you're still extremely questionable in your decision-making. So I don't know. The Buffalo Bills run over the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 1-4. I can't remember the last time the Steelers were 1-4. 38-3. Josh Allen 424 and four touchdowns. He also led the team in rushing yards with 5 carries for 42 yards. Gabe Davis, 3 receptions, $171, 2 touchdowns. Like, here's the one issue that the Buffalo Bills have. The issue for the Buffalo Bills is that Josh Allen can't lead your team in rushing. Somehow, some way, between Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, you need to have one of those guys as your lead back. You can't have Josh Allen doing it all, because if Josh Allen has a bad day in the passing game, who's going to step up in the running game? Right? Like, who's going to step up if Josh Allen is if he has an off day? Because he's human. Things are going to happen. He might have a bad day. He might be bad on one day. And we've got no running back. We have got no running game. We joke about, I don't joke about it because I like Lamar Jackson, but how many times do you hear people say, oh, well, Lamar Jackson is a running back? Josh Allen has led the Buffalo Bills in running more than Lamar Jackson has led the Baltimore Ravens in rushing. The Baltimore Ravens have Gus Edwards. They have J.K. Dobbins. They had Devontae Freeman. They had Latavius Murray. They've had all of these other running backs. They address the running back situation. The Buffalo Bills are just like, meh. If you keep hanging Josh Allen out to dry, I mean, bad things are going to happen. Right? Like, if you keep leaving him out to dry and you're not surrounding him by at least a formidable running back, this tells me, with how many times Allen has led the team in rushing yards, this tells me that Sean McDermott has no faith in Zach Moss or Devin Singletary. That's what that tells me. Chargers got it done. Sneak away with a win, 30-28 against the Cleveland Browns. Austin Eckler, I feel like I say this ad nauseum. If Austin Eckler is involved, the Chargers are scoring points. 16 carries, $173 on the ground, and 1 touchdown. Mike Williams, 10 receptions for 134 yards. Austin Eckler is the heart and soul. As much as we like Justin Herbert, and I love Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's a fantastic quarterback. As much as we like Justin Herbert, the heart and soul of that offense for the LA Chargers is Austin Eckler. You've got you have to feed Austin Eckler the ball, because good things are going to happen for this Chargers team. They're 3-2. Their 2 losses. Austin Eckler was a non-factor. He was non-existent. I mean, the proof's in the pudding at this point. We just started the second quarter of the season. Proof's in the pudding for me. The Seahawks lose 32-39 to the New Orleans Saints. Geno Smith had another 3 touchdown day. Tyler Lockett, 5 receptions for $104 and 2 touchdowns. Sean Payton was sitting at home somewhere, smiling his from ear to ear, Taysom Hill, 9 carries, 112 yards on 3 touchdowns. Look, this is what Taysom Hill is good at. Taysom Hill is not great at anything. Taysom Hill is a Swiss Army knife who you can plug and play in certain situations, and he's going to be good. And in other situations, he's going to be really, really bad. This just happened to be one of those games where he performed well running the ball. The Jets destroyed the Dolphins 40-17 as Teddy Bridgewater had to leave the game in the concussion protocol, leaving Skyler, I don't know his last name. But 40-17 is, the Jets are now 3-2. The Dolphins are 3-2. The AFC East is tightening up now. Obviously behind the Buffalo Bills. You've got the Patriots are 2-3. The Jets and Dolphins are right above them, 3-2, and then the Buffalo Bills, of course, are leading the way. The wheels kind of fell off for the Dolphins. Some people are saying that it was karma that Teddy Bridgewater, they're not wishing ill will on Teddy Bridgewater, but saying it's karma for the team to have their backup quarterback, who was a starting quarterback last season, go down into concussion protocol. 40-17 is nothing great. Titans got it done 21-17 over the Commanders. Derrick Henry finally eclipsed the century mark, scored 2 touchdowns. Thank you to my fantasy team. Carson Wentz, 359 and 2 scores. But what did he do at the end of the game? Carson Wentz does what Carson Wentz does, and he threw an interception, which ended the game. Washington could have come back. They could have won this game. They could, instead of being 1-4, they could be 2-3, but they're not. Houston got the win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which to me is crazy because this just could have been one of those trap games for the Jags. It's a divisional game. Divisional games are always tough. This asked the Buccaneers yesterday against the Falcons. Divisional games are always tough. 13-6 was going to be the final score. Trevor Lawrence, not a great day at the office. He had another 2 turnovers. Damian Pierce got it done. Almost 100 yards, finished with 99 on the ground. Marvin Jones Jr. led the team, 7 receptions for 104 receiving yards. Baker Mayfield, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Baker Mayfield, absolute trash. Second worst passer rating since they started tracking passer ratings. As the 49ers win 37-15 over the Carolina Panthers. Jimmy G had himself a little day here. Jeff Wilson got 120 yards rushing on the ground. Cowboys pick up the win. I called the Cowboys. I knew the Cowboys were going to beat the LA Rams. Cooper Kupp still had 125 yards because Matthew Stafford force feeds Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford was only 28 of 42 for 308. If you're dropping back 42 times and you're only completing 20, that's not a good day for Matthew Stafford. Tony Pollard led the way, 8 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. I really wish for my fantasy team Zeke would have done something, but hey, he didn't. The Cowboys are now 4-1. Their only loss actually came at home. They're 2-0 on the road. The Eagles got it done at the end of the game as Matt Amendola missed the game-tying field goal. Eagles remain undefeated, 5-0 on the season, 2017. I'm not shocked. I called the Eagles beating the Cardinals because the Eagles are a better team. The Cardinals just don't have anybody. You've got Kyler Murray. You've got Zach Ertz. And who else? That's all you have. You lost defenders. You lost offensive weapons. And dude, that's it. Justin Tucker. I mean, what can you say about Justin Tucker on Sunday Night Football, man? When he turned and he looked at the crowd after he very easily hit that 61-yard field goal, was just threw his hands up in the air and smiled. The guy is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've ever been so excited to watch a kicker kick in my life. The Bengals fall to 2-3. It's the first time I want to say that that both teams in the Super Bowl were 2-3 for quite some time. Ravens are now 3-2. Of course, J.K. Dobbins is starting to come back. He's starting to get his legs under him. Gus Edwards should be back. And Lamar Jackson did have a pretty bad game in terms of He had a really bad interception to Von Bell. I believe it was in the first half. It was just a really bad throw. Unless look, if Duvernay is going to develop and become a wide receiver one, sure. Rashad Bateman, kind of a non-factor. Mark Andrews, 8 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. And this is what you expect from this Baltimore Ravens team. You expect it to be run heavy, and you expect a lot of Lamar Jackson trying to make plays on his feet because he doesn't have a legitimate wide receiving core outside of Mark Andrews. So we'll see. You got the Raiders and the Chiefs tonight, Monday Night Football. I'm looking forward to this. I really would like the Raiders to pull off the upset tonight. I really would. Just to keep that AFC West division interesting. I know Bucs fans are like, I want the Chiefs to lose. I couldn't care any less. 5 games into the season, I couldn't care if I'm not rooting for the Chiefs to win or to lose, but I'm rooting right now. I'm rooting for the Raiders to win because I want that AFC West to tighten up. That's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see the Raiders go 2-3. And now you got the Broncos 2-3. And you've got the Chiefs 3-2. And you've got the Chargers 3-2. That's what I want to see because that's what we expected out of the AFC West heading into the season. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for us. The time is now just over 9 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for tagging friends, sharing Channelside Sports. Make sure you follow us on all of the social media platforms. Just look for the Channelside Sports Network, and you'll find us all over there. Articles are coming up. YouTube is coming up. We're doing it, guys. We'll be back again tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. And then, of course, we've got Primetime Pelly and Radio John taking over the airwaves at 8 p.m. sharp for the main event. So I'm interested to see what these guys got to say about the Buccaneers win. I know that Primetime Pelly is not too happy with Luke Gedeke after yesterday, on top of everything for the rest of the season. But nonetheless, everybody have a great Monday. Make sure you follow us on the Channelside Sports Network. If you want to chop it up with me personally, look for me, Real Dandy B, on basically any social media platform, except I'm primarily going to be on Twitter. I will see everybody tomorrow. Have a great Monday. This was Channelside in the Morning live from the Channelside Sports Network.